And hi there, it's Mike from Incrementa, and I'm here today with fellow Gravitas Impact coach Glen Dall. Now, most of you know I get super excited about working with entrepreneurs with big dreams. Jim Collins has this concept called the BHAG, the Big Hairy Audacious Goal, and Glen and I are here to talk about that today. So Glen, can you tell us a little bit about BHAGs?
Sure, I'd love to, Mike. It's interesting, the phrase BHAG, the Big Hairy Audacious Goal, or as some people say, a Big Hairy Ass Goal, is one I use, but I actually really like the term North Star. And to me, the North Star is that's the guiding principle. It's the shining light in the sky that I navigate by. And as I think, especially in times like now, but anytime in business, there's storms that come up, blow us astray, and right, the clouds, dark days. But when the clouds recede and the sky is clear, and we can once again lift our heads and say, oh, there's our North Star. Let me reorient myself to that North Star. It's a guiding principle that keeps us as we navigate through the storms of our businesses or of our lives. So I really love using the term North Star in reference to the BHAG.
I love that because as businesses grow and develop, there will be natural course shifts that will happen.
Yeah.
And using that good concept, the metaphor of a North Star, it's an easy course correction as you go.
Yep.
Because you're off by a degree or two. It's okay because you'll just pull it back. And you go off by a degree or two and you pull it back.
Yeah. Yep. That's the way sailors they didn't have GPS or cell phones, right? They had to use a sextant and shoot from the stars.
That's awesome. So when you're creating that North Star, how do you create something that people care about?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one that working with my clients, I love. This is just the part of our coaching journey that I love, 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 love. If I can say that enough. And many times I work with clients that like, this is the fuzzy stuff. Why does this really matter, right? But time and time again, as I work with clients and help them determine what their North Star is, because it's always within them, right? You and I don't give it to them. It's a matter of encouraging them, inspiring them, asking the questions, and really, lifting them up so that they can say it clearly, so that everybody in their organization, the people they're hiring, their customers, their vendors, can hear it and understand it and be inspired by it. Because the more we can show that shining light, we're all attracted to light, right? And when a leadership team or an entrepreneur can really state that emotionally because they believe it, right? It's core, and it's exciting. And many times when I'm doing this on the whiteboard, I'll write the $ plus the heart, which means because we need to have some measurements around it, right, to quantify it. But it's having that emotional element, the heartstring, that makes it inspiring, and it makes our teams that we build because of it. They're coming to work not because they have a job, but because they have a purpose, because they really believe in it.
And I love that you used words like emotional and inspirational and purpose, and those are so important to tie in, because if your North Star or your BHAG is simply to make $10 million, nobody cares. But if it's all about the impact that you're going to make to the world or to a specific group that you guys care about, it draws people in. Yeah. And gets them to want to contribute and be part of that impact. And that's beautiful.
My second coaching client, one of the members of the leadership team, when we were talking about the BHAG, going through this, she said, kind of raised her hand and said, yes. She goes, I worked for a previous company I worked for. Their BHAG, their stated BHAG, the owners at every meeting would communicate it well. I'm like, yeah, that's great. You always want to be communicating it. She goes, it was really simple, very direct. She goes, but it sucked. I'm like, well, why? That's, sounds like the right thing. She said, it was to make $100 million, to make it $100 million. And she goes, every time he said it, all I could think about was, oh, you just want me to help make you rich.
Nobody cares about lining the pockets of the shareholders.
No.
Yeah. So when we were talking off camera, we were talking about one specific ridiculously inspirational one that you're working with right now.
Yeah.
So can you please tell that story?
Love to. I love telling the story. Well, first of all, and when we were doing that, Mike, you had shared with me an experience you had when you were 18 years old, because you and I are both cycling enthusiasts, right?
Yes,
So would you mind just sharing that story?
of course. So I turned 18, and this is the time in people's lives when they're out buying their car. And
Hmm.
I already had mine, but I had this thing that just happened inside me. And almost on impulse, I went to the bike store and bought my first cross country mountain bike. And so my first bike as an adult.
Hmm.
Left my car in the parking lot, got the helmet, and I started riding. And literally didn't stop for days. Actually, didn't stop for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Biking for me had this feeling of freedom
Hmm.
that you just can't get anywhere else. The wind in your face, the fact that if you shift your weight just a little bit, the entire bike shifts with you,
Hmm.
and it's raw, and it's all it's for me it was all consuming.
Yeah.
So at 18 is when I discovered that feeling. And I said I chased it and lived it for decades afterwards.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that feeling, and freedom is exactly it. I remember my first experience of when I received my first two wheeler, and it was used. I remember this. It was red. It was a bright red bike. It was used. It was painted, like hand painted.
Hmm.
But I remember my father running with me down the sidewalk and holding me up as I was pedaling and unstable, right? And then that moment of equilibrium when we first all figure out, like, I'm pedaling, and you realize that I realized my dad had let go, and I was unsteady, but I was going and then going. Is that sense of freedom, and I can just remember that smile on my face, because I've seen it on my children's faces as they learn to ride their two-wheeler without training wheels by themselves. And I know you have two daughters too, Mike, so I know you've seen that
Oh,
look.
it's awesome.
Yeah, right. It's a smile. I'm smiling right now, just remembering that
Mhm.
freedom. So one of the organizations that I work with as a coach is called Free Bikes for Kids. And Free Bikes for Kids started, Terry Esau was the founder. He started out of his garage basically by just fixing up used bikes, old used bikes that people had in their garage or kids had outgrown, and enlisted his friends, and they're working out of their garage, and they would give them to children in need, children who didn't have bikes. And that organization has grown over the last 11 years now, where they have now given away almost 80,000 bikes to kids in need,
Wow, that's
right?
awesome.
Yeah, isn't that great? And you figure, what does that mean? Well, you've given away a bike. That's not what we're giving. We're giving freedom. We're giving freedom to a kid who normally wouldn't have that. And I've been on the day when we gave away 7,000 bikes. I was there at the warehouse last fall. Over 2 days, we gave away almost 7,000 bikes. And seeing the look on those kids' faces as they get a free helmet, we give them a helmet. The bikes are all tuned up. They're all fixed up by volunteers. And there's a course where they can test their bikes out for fit. And it's that same look. It's that huge smile on their face. Well, the organization has grown. We're now in 12 cities, and we intend to continue growing. And so, in working with Terry and the other board members on setting out what is the North Star for Free Bikes for Kids, now that as we're growing, there was a lot of debate of like, well, how do we get there? And it's taken us 11 years just to get 80,000 bikes out. How do we do this impact and make it really emotional? And the BHAG, the North Star that we've came up with as a national board for Free Bikes for Kids, is within the next 5 years to put smiles on the faces of 1 million kids by giving them bikes.
I get goosebumps just hearing that, and I'm not even involved in the organization.
I know,
That
I
is
love it.
amazing.
You can be involved. You could help start a chapter in Vancouver.
Oh, there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
So thank you so very much for sharing that story and for your time, Glenn. I think this is one of those incredibly valuable elements for business owners to open their eyes to. The
Yeah.
idea of coming up with that giant goal called
Hmm.
North Star, the direction for the business that people can be inspired by and drawn to,
Hmm.
and then leading them there
Yeah.
is transformational.
Yeah. Absolutely agree.
So thank you again for your time.
You're
We'll
welcome,
talk
Mike.
soon.
Thanks for having me on. Take care. Bye.